Hello and welcome back to the Cozy Christmas Book Corner. I have a handful of books to share with you and talk to you about today. Not all mysteries, if you can believe it. First of all, I want to mention if you're new to the channel, welcome. I've just gotten a bunch of new subscribers on the YouTube channel, so I thank you for that. And I hope you will continue to listen throughout the year, as I do have plans for podcasting Christmas content coming your way all year long. I want to start off with a book that I haven't read actually in a couple of years, but I think it's one that's worth it. I've probably talked about it before, but it's called Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. The reason I bring it up now is because I have seen it becoming more and more popular on booktube and on people's Christmas recommendation lists, and that makes me really happy because I think it's a often overlooked gem of a story that even if you don't like The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or even The Silmarillion, I mean, that's a tough book and not Christmassy at all. But this book is a lovely book, and it has such a sweet origin story. I think, as a father, what it is Tolkien throughout many Christmases wrote a letter to his children as if it were Father Christmas writing to them, and he would eventually add to the story. There is a great polar bear character, and some goblins, I think, make an appearance even, and it's all really quite lovely. And what a fun tradition to have with your family. I think that's something we all could do, is just write stories and letters to our family, and what a keepsake that would be. So yeah, I would recommend that book, and I'm really glad to see that it's becoming more and more popular. My relationship with Tolkien is kind of complicated at times. I really struggled to read and enjoy the stories as much as a lot of my friends were. I started reading them back when the movies were being filmed. And then when I saw the movies, I thought, this is actually what I like. And so long story short, that has nothing to do with Christmas. I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings movies, even more than the books sometimes. So if you want to unsubscribe, I get it, but I love them. But these letters, you really get the different side of Tolkien, and yet you see some of the glimmers of his world building abilities that, to me, I wish he could have written more and built more worlds, because even in something as simple as writing letters to his kids, he couldn't help but create a world and a culture and language for all the different characters that appear in his stories. But it's not anywhere near as complicated as Lord of the Rings or even The Hobbit. This is good to read during Christmas time. It's cozy and it's beautifully written. Another book I want to recommend is called The Christmas Dog by Melody Carlson. I just talked about one of her books in a previous video, which was The Christmas Joyride. And this is a novella that's about, I mean, I don't know, it's about 175 pages. That's longer than I would think of a novella would be. But anyway, here's what the book is about. It stars an older protagonist. Her name is Betty Kowalski, and it says that Betty Kowalski isn't looking forward to the holidays. She just can't seem to find Christmas in her heart. There's church, of course, but who can she bake for these days? And who would care whether or not she pulled out the Christmas decorations? Her new neighbor just adds to the problem. He's doing home improvements that don't appear to be improving much of anything. These days, when Betty looks out the window, she sees a beat up truck, a pile of junk, lots of blue tarps, and, horror of horrors, an old pink toilet. But when a mangy dog appears at her doorstep, the stage is set for Betty to learn a very important lesson about what Christmas is all about. This contemporary Christmas story is a timely yet gentle reminder that God can work miracles through something as seemingly insignificant as a little brown dog. So, for those of you who may worry, I'm going to spoil just a sliver of it and let you know that the dog does not die in this book. Okay. I almost didn't read it because the cliche that if there's a dog on the cover, he dies in the story. That is not true for this book. So you can read it knowing that the dog makes it. Okay. That's all the spoilers I'll give of this book. I read it within a couple of days just last week. I was really in the mood for something cozy, Christmassy, sweet. And honestly, I think reading The Mistletoe Promise kind of broke me. Going into that story, I wanted it to be cozy, but it was kind of tragic at one point, desperately so. This is the book that I had hoped that The Mistletoe Promise was. It is something I just needed to hear with some good lessons in it. The cover is really cute, and the story itself is a very easy read. I thought at first it was going to be like a Hallmark love story between Betty and her neighbor, but you quickly find out that Betty is like grandma age and she has a grown grandchild who uh, doesn't necessarily run away from home, but she leaves home. She's just having a hard time finding her way in life and ends up with her grandma, Betty. And the two form a bond and really help each other throughout the course of the story, along with showing kindness to their neighbor, their new neighbor who has been kind of a irritant in the neighborhood. And many have not made him feel welcome because of it. And it's a beautiful story about the power of kindness and showing care for your neighbor. Some very good biblical themes without being too preachy. If you're not one to read Christian stories or Christian novels, not to worry. This is not a heavy-handed. At least I didn't think. I've read some that are really much more much worse than this. That's part of why I kind of stay away from some of them, because it just feels like you're being preached at in every page, and I just don't want that. I just wanted a fun story that had a lesson in it, but had Christmas too. And I think this really struck a good balance. What connects Betty with her neighbor is this dog who mysteriously appears on her doorstep. She thinks it belongs to him, and he thinks it belongs to her. And it's kind of the catalyst that begins the whole story of connecting with people. I love that Betty is an older hero, an older main character, and it, I think, realistically shows some of the struggles that she has during Christmas time with not having her husband with her anymore. Her family's all moved away. She's looking at potentially having a pretty lonely Christmas time. I really love how the author brings those things out, not in a shameful way and not in a way to make you feel guilty, but it's just done in enough to help you understand what some of the older people of our town might be going through at Christmas if they're alone. I love the lessons of the story that the message of killing with kindness. That her neighbor, Betty's neighbor, really irritates her, and so her daughter reminded her of something she used to say about killing someone with kindness. And so she brings over cookies, and she's still kind of grumpy with them, but she's trying. And I love that she's not perfect at that attempt, that it's kind of a progress. I love that the story also talks about, not as a main theme, but it's certainly there, that the joy that pets can bring you. This is obviously something I've experienced just recently with our new dog, Pumpkin. She's I'm gonna yeah I talk I'm gonna talk obsessively about her. I have a bunch of pictures of her on my phone too. So you know, ask me about my dog. I need that on a T-shirt. And how having something like that to help take care of can really be good for your mental health, and that's certainly what we found to be true. And as I mentioned, the dog survives, so don't worry about that. He's not ever in peril. It's part of the reason why I usually stay away from dog stories. I think Old Yeller scarred me for life. That and Where the Red Fern Grows. It's like, no, I don't want to read. I just don't. So, okay, enough of that. So yeah, I think this would be a great read if you need something to help you relax, to enjoy the feelings of Christmas, and have a good, heartwarming, quality story. that teaches a great truth about the power of kindness and loving your neighbor. This is the perfect story for you. All right, so into the mystery portion of this video. One is High Spirits, which is book 2 in the Haunted Haven mystery series, written by Carol J. Perry. I thought I had talked about this book in a past video, but now I can't find where if I did. So if it's a repeat, forgive me. But Carol is going to be a guest on my podcast if you haven't listened to it already. I had a lovely Christmas chat with her about this book, so I won't say a whole lot about it because we go into some detail in the video or in the episode. Basically, it takes place in Florida. There's ghosts. There's a murder. It's a celebration of classic movies. What more could you want? It also has a wonderful dog in it named Finn. He's adorable, and it's a good mystery and a good story that is a celebration in part of Christmas movies. And then kind of a theme on Silent Night, I have another book called Silent Knit, Deadly Knit that I read. And again, Peggy Earhart is the author. She will be on an upcoming episode as well. And this book was sent to me by Kensington as a way to help prepare for the interview. And so I thought I'd also give a review on it. Pamela is the main character, and her daughter Penny is coming home from college for Christmas, and they're hoping to have some bonding time together, but a murder interrupts the proceedings. Pamela hosts like a knitting club. There's food that's a main part of this as well. You know, I'm not a knitter, but I do love food, and there's some great food descriptions. The cover is absolutely charming, with an adorable cat on the front. The mystery is really well done. Her daughter, Pamela's daughter Penny, you know, as I said, she's home for Christmas, and she's the one that finds the dead body. Her daughter does, and there's some mysterious characters that show up that may or may not be the murderer. And the only thing that connects the killer to the crime is this red scarf, and it appears in a couple different places that she was not expecting. So it's really intriguing mystery. Now I broke my own rule and I read these books out of order. I read book 4 first. And actually, I found out I had read a novella by her last year. And anyway, I personally don't like reading books out of order. But if you do that, you know, I think this one you should be able to be fine. She does a great job at catching you up as to what's happened and who the different characters are. So I'm really thinking about going back and starting this series, even though it's about knitting, which I'm not a big knitter, but I really really enjoyed that book. It's a good mystery with some great cozy Christmassy scenes in it. Then to keep on the Silent Night theme, I'm reading a short story collection called Silent Nights. It's a collection of classic crime Christmas stories, or crime stories that take place at Christmas. You've got the likes of Arthur Conan Doyle, his Sherlock Holmes Christmas story is in it, and classic authors like that around late 1800s, early 20th century. I'm about halfway through right now, and I'm reading it for a group read on another channel. Two of the stories I've read I really enjoyed. The rest are okay, but these two I really enjoyed. One is called Stuffing by Edgar Wallace, and I actually read that in a recent podcast episode. It's funny and it's kind of clever. You got to really be paying attention to it, though. It's basically a heist story gone wrong for most of the characters involved. And then if you like scary ghost stories, the other story in the book in the collection I really enjoyed is called Waxworks by Ethel Lena White. It's a scary story. It feels very Victorian in that sense that it's like a ghost story, sort of, maybe. And basically, it tells the story of a woman who spends the night in a wax museum because it's gotten a reputation of being haunted, and two people previously who have tried to stay the night in the museum ended up dead the next morning. And so this woman decides she's going to spend the night in the museum as well to see if she can debunk what's going on. I'm going to sound like a clickbait article here, but the ending will surprise you. It's a good story. It's very creepy, especially if you have a fear of things like dolls and wax figures. And it's very well done. A very good story. So, yeah, so that collection is called, again, Silent Nights. And you can actually get it on Kindle right now for free if you're subscribed to Kindle Unlimited. So that's, I mean, you can't beat that deal. All right, those are my book suggestions for today. I am hoping to have at least one more of these out sometime between now and Christmas. I am not sure because, I've got quite a busy load coming up this next couple of weeks, but I'll do my best to try to get something out, at least one more video out. Let me know below what you're reading this Christmas season. I'd love to add some more to my TBR list. So until next time, take care and happy reading.